Hello again and welcome to another episode of the Franchise Everything podcast where we talk about everything and anything franchising. And today, once again, as always, we're at somewhere different. We're in Sydney at the moment and we're with Adrian and Anya Haywood, who are the franchisors of Seal-A-Fridge. Hello, how are we?
We're good, Glenn. Hi.
Nice to be here.
Yes, you too. It's a little bit warm out there and a bit humid.
A bit muggy today.
We're post-cyclone Gold Coast time here and it's already made its way down to Sydney, so we're feeling it.
It
did, all the way this morning.
Yeah, you can take it back with you at the
I
end
will.
of today.
Actually, we don't want it up there. But and we've already been out to see a Seal-A-Fridge franchisee in action this morning, Andrew, haven't we, Anya?
Yeah, we have. So we were out this morning in North Sydney, in Mossman. Andrew Pennycook has been with us for many years.
15 years,
way
he was saying. It's
before
unbelievable.
us being with Seal-A-Fridge. So a great example of fantastic franchisees. So yes, we love Andrew. He does amazing work.
Yeah, he was great. So in this particular podcast, this is one we do called the franchise business model. So this is helping us and people who are looking to invest in a franchise, the franchise business model of Seal-A-Fridge. So I know one thing that we've talked about at length since we've started doing some content together is the low ongoing costs and everything you have.
Sure.
And brands approach it differently in how they do royalties, no royalties. How do you approach it and what's your sort of take on the royalty fee or the weekly fees that you have?
Sure. So look, we purchased Seal-A-Fridge just over a year ago. So we're relatively new to.
Yeah, so you are new, aren't you, into the business?
We're relatively new, and I guess the advantage of that is that we've come into this with very fresh eyes. We personally had to assess Seal-A-Fridge as an entire business. So we've also obviously looked at, what are the offerings to the individuals who are buying into the business, and one of the keys for us was predictability, particularly in the current environment. We wanted our franchisees to know what their costs were. What obviously it's always hard to predict what your bottom line is going to be, across the entire year. But at least being able to control costs was a key thing. So hence we introduced the no royalty fees as part of our franchise offering.
Because that is something you can actually help them control, isn't
Absolutely.
it? They know exactly what it's going to be.
Absolutely. So it means they can control what their franchise fee is going to be. It means that then they just have to look at other parts of the business. So whether it's their, petrol, insurance, any of those raw materials costs, but really it just limits that unpredictability.
So you were going to say, Adrian?
I was just going to add that another attractive feature of that we think is that as they develop their business and their business grows, they get to reap the rewards of their effort because their franchise fees are not increasing as they're doing more and more business because they're paying a fixed fee and that's it. And so there's no marketing fees or royalty fees that mean their franchise fees are going up and up and up as their business grows. They've got that locked in.
And that is a little bit unique to businesses like yourself that do that, is that there are a lot out there who earn more, they pay more. But you
yes,
really was that in the place previously, or what was the structure previously?
Yes, previously.
Was it slightly different? It was a different model.
It was built into their franchise.
Yeah, it was basically a percentage of sales, and so as their sales grew, then the franchise fees would also increase.
Franchisees are loving you coming into it. Absolutely, well done. So that rolls on to then the entry costs. So I know the other thing, whenever we've been talking, we've talked a lot recently. Low ongoing fees, low entry costs. Can you talk about your entry into the business and someone who's looking at the business from the business model perspective, what they're faced with getting into a Seal-A-Fridge?
Sure. So it depends whether they're looking at a greenfield site, so a completely new territory, or
so that's it for non-franchise people. Greenfield is brand new.
Yeah, brand new. So, for instance, Northern Territory. So, Seal-A-Fridge has never been in the Northern Territory, or certainly they've not been in there for a long time. So, that for us is a greenfield site. So, the entry fees for those types of territories are pretty low. So, they start at $35,000 plus GST, and that is to have exclusive access to the territory. So, obviously, Darwin and all the other communities and the associated postcodes around that. So you've got your low entry cost. And then really on top of that, it's your van. So you will need a van. So all of our franchisees have what we call mobile workshops. So that's where they can actually go out to a site. They can measure for a fridge seal. They can then go into their van and, cut and make the seal up before they return to the site. And so the mobile workshop obviously is a key part of running the business. So some of our franchisees who start, they may prefer to buy a secondhand one. That's perfectly fine. And
so you don't have a spec of a van that you require in particular?
No, we obviously have guidelines in terms of the van needs to be branded. We have recommendations in terms of how it can be laid out into the most efficient way in terms of how they can store their seals, et cetera, et cetera. So certainly we provide recommendations around that, but it's really open to them. Some entering into the business may already have a van, so they can actually, just modify what they've got already. So going back, it's purchasing the territory, the van, and then it's just really the basics you would have with any business in terms of some insurance, some and then really having basic software. Generally, we recommend Xero, which is a very easy package
for accounting.
FPOS machine.
And how much stock do they carry on? So you just caught my attention then when you said they go out there into their mobile workshop, cut the seal to the size. So they're not sitting there with thousands and thousands of seal types inside their van. They're making them on site basically, aren't they?
Yeah. They're making them on site. So there must be around 700, 800 different types of seal profiles. Some of those...
Didn't you have one? You had some here?
So
hang on.
I've got
you
some
you
here.
keep talking. You keep talking. I'll grab them.
Some of those obviously relate to domestic fridges. Some of them relate to commercial fridges. And obviously they don't carry 700 different profiles in their vans, but what they, this is an example, you could have something that's relevant to a commercial fridge, some domestic fridge. So they would carry the most typical profiles in their vans. So these come in like 4-meter lengths, and then they would obviously go out to their van and cut the seal to size. If there's obviously a seal profile they've never come across before, or they don't carry in their van, then it may require them to come back on site. But we try
Would that be pretty rare? Would that be pretty rare?
Yeah, because what we try and do is gather as much information as possible before they're going out on site. So particularly with our corporate accounts are fantastic, and they'll provide us with all the make and the model numbers. So there's really that efficiency there, so they can be prepared before they actually go on site to make sure that they've got the right materials in their van.
Did you say there's 700 of those?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
And it changes all the time. There's always new ones coming on and old ones dropping off. And so one of the features we liked about the business is that the fact there are so many seals means it's very difficult for someone who doesn't have the setup in their van and doesn't have access to all of these profiles to do the job. And fridge mechanics don't want to carry 700 potential seals around for a job they may or may not get. So we run a very unique business, if you like, that is really specialised in the service that we offer. And that's one of the things that we quite enjoyed about the business.
Excellent. You mentioned before, my ears pricked on when you mentioned Northern Territory. You've never had someone from Northern Territory. Now, I know you do national accounts.
Yes.
So how do you manage, how do the national accounts work, and how do you manage locations like that without someone there, for example?
Yeah. So we do, we work with a lot of national accounts across Australia and New Zealand. And obviously being a business, we have franchisees in New Zealand, both North Island and South Island, and all across Australia, apart from the Northern Territory.
So for someone in the Northern Territory, this is it. This is the job. This is the
great opportunity.
So look, we are obviously very upfront with our national accounts in terms of we're able to satisfy the vast majority of their network, and obviously where a job comes up where it may be really, really regional or Northern Territory, for instance, then we do have some alternative solutions for our brands. Whether it's a Fridgie, a Sealy flying in there, or it might be a fridge mechanic, a Fridgie, where we will actually make up the seal for them and send that out if we don't cover that particular territory.
So that's probably a key thing that you do, isn't it? That I wasn't aware of initially. You're sourcing clients for your franchisees through those national accounts.
Absolutely.
So what sort of work goes into that, and what does that look like?
Yeah, sure. So when we came on board last year, there was a few legacy corporate accounts. They'd been working with Seal-A-Fridge for many years.
Was it a big focus or not really as much?
It wasn't a massive focus. No, it wasn't a massive focus, but it is a very big focus for us. So we have also corporate backgrounds, so we're able to, I guess, understand the dynamics of how these businesses work and the different, levels and, the different layers, and how you can, call up, and it may take several calls and emails, and it might be attending networking events and things like that to actually get in front of the right people. And a lot of it now with the corporate events, with the corporate businesses, is about having that national spread, because a lot of the big brands actually have facility management companies who manage this type of, anything to do with maintenance, etc. And those facility managers obviously want as little service providers as possible to deal with, to make their jobs obviously more efficient. So we're a great one-stop shop for that, rather than them having to call, many independent service providers across the country. It just means that there's one call to us. So
you work with a lot of national franchise brands, a lot of national franchise food brands, especially, and hospitality.
So your Grilled, your Boost Stews, Betty's Burgers, Coles Supermarkets, Yochi, Sushi. So, for us, those types of brands are brilliant, because refrigeration is very important to them, whether they're, a fridge, a freezer, cool room, etc. There's a lot of usage there. And where there's a lot of usage, then
breakage.
Then the seals need to be replaced. So, whether it's the frozen yogurt that's dripping down the seal, and then, you get members of staff that use knives to try and clean it out. And then a rip seal means obviously work for us. So,
of course.
And as those commercial customers grow, they're all getting bigger, and the market's sort of consolidating around those growing groups, and they're getting a lot of growth. They start to professionalize the way they operate. And so they start to centralize things that might have been done store by store or location by location. But increasingly, we're seeing those big chains are getting bigger, and they want to start to bring that professional element to the business. And so that's where Seal-A-Fridge can be the ideal partner with them, because they want one point of call where they know they're going to get consistent service. If there is an issue, they can come to us and resolve
rather than
it.
an independent.
Rather than independent, where you can completely, you get very variable types of service. They can't find the person's on holiday. So it's a real competitive strength of Seal-A-Fridge that we can interact as partners with those corporate accounts, which then flows down to the franchisees' individual businesses.
Yeah, interesting. You were mentioning before, Adrian, in our pre-chat on this, you're talking about lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in getting across to the audience about what a day in the life and lifestyle, and how they manage their work and their urgency of work and that sort of stuff there. Can you touch on a bit about what that looks like for, say, a franchisee in Seal-A-Fridge?
Yeah, look, one of the things we really like about the business is that from a lifestyle point of view, we think it can be very flexible. And so we have a lot of franchisees in different stages of life. They all want different things from the business that they're running. And so Seal-A-Fridge, by its nature, I think lends itself to that flexibility. So there is, the job needs to be done professionally, needs to be done right, but it's not urgent. It doesn't have to be done today. So it means that people can work their schedule to suit their own lifestyle. So we have franchisees that like to occasionally play golf on a Wednesday afternoon, or like to take the kids camping and go for a long weekend. So they can really just schedule their work around their clients' needs, but it doesn't have to be done urgently.
Yeah, it's one of those, I was thinking about when you said it before, I thought, that makes sense actually, because a seal is important, but it's not going to shut the burger joint down. That weekend.
Occasionally it does happen. Food inspectors, for instance,
on that regard,
are a good source of business for us, because they will obviously go into, a cafe, a McDonald's, whatever it might be, and seals could be on their list. You've got to fix this within 24 hours. So occasionally the guys could be brought in for that urgent type job, and then obviously they cost out appropriately. There would be some kind of surcharge they would bill on for that type of immediacy, for urgency. But generally it's not, crazy urgent.
Okay, and you're talking
if you do get something wrong, we all make mistakes, and so the rate of issues is very, very low. But if something doesn't go quite according to plan, you're not bringing an entire production line down. And so you're not causing a customer enormous headaches and costs.
Yep.
You can just go back and fix it.
Yeah.
And so it can really create a really great opportunity for a great lifestyle for our franchisees.
And I think the nice part about that is also then the people you're working with, you know, the customers, you know, whether it's like the people in the kitchen, in a commercial kitchen situation or in a home, then, you know, people are really nice and they're friendly. You know, you're here to help them, but they're not in that stressful situation. So, you know, we rarely get, you know, customers shouting down the phone or whatever. It's just not that type of business, which is really nice. So
that's what it's the thing we all dread. We all dread. You mentioned something before, Adrian, about barriers to entry, and I'd like to touch on that a bit more. So, and your competitive environment, competitive landscape you have there, about your competitive advantage as well.
Yeah.
So can you touch a little bit on the barriers to entry? I mean, I asked Andrew today at Mossman when we were talking, I said, is it hard to do? Because I've looked at my own fridge with a broken seal and thinking there's no way I'm touching that. Yeah. So can you touch a little bit on barriers to entry, how difficult it is to do and train, and competitive landscape a bit?
Yeah, one of the things we like is that there's just enough complexity around the business. Anya's already touched on the fact there are hundreds of these seals that are out there. So there's enough complexity around it. There is expertise involved, and so very quickly our franchisees learn how to do the job and do it well.
Yep.
So I wouldn't say it's a difficult job, which means a lot of people can do it, but there's enough complexity that means you aren't going to get people doing it part-time. It's just not going to work doing that. So we like that fact that there's enough complexity around it. You need to have a supply of seals on hand. You can't go to a site, measure up the fridge, then...
Well, there'd be no money in that, would it? Going back,
then go home,
go to
make the
Bunnings, grab some seals,
then go back again. You know, these are, we're replacing fridge seals, and so you've got to make it as efficient as possible. So the way that all our franchisees are set up with their mobile workshops is great because they've got the stock on hand. They go to the site, they measure it up, go back to the workshop, mobile workshop, which is parked out the front, cut the seal, weld it, and then go back and do the job in one visit, which is very, very important. And we're doing things like we've got a customized database that all the franchisees can use, that also when they get a job, they can see what's that fridge, what seal does it require. So they've also got some knowledge. Some real corporate knowledge there of some real corporate knowledge that we're trying to systematize across the business. Which again just creates efficiency, cost savings for our clients, cost savings for the franchisees. So everyone wins from that. So I think they're some of the things we look at. The other one we've touched on is national accounts, which is very significant. Probably 70% of our work is for commercial accounts. They're all those ones that we've talked about, the fast food franchisees, the quick service restaurants, the Yochis, the Boost juicers. They want increasingly one point of contact. They want one service standard, one level of quality, and we're the only ones that can provide that. We're the only national franchise group. We're really the only group that has anything more than one or two locations that we cover, and we cover the country and we cover New Zealand. So that's an enormous competitive advantage that is really unassailable. No one else can take that on. So that's why we're putting such emphasis on cultivating these corporate relationships, because we think we can do a great job for those clients. We're the only one that can do that job in the country. And so it's an enormous advantage we had when we're really trying to make sure that we maximize that in delivering a great service for as many corporate clients as we can.
Excellent. I think it's a great intro, a business model intro to Seal-A-Fridge. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thanks for having us. Great.
And that's it for another one of the Franchise Everything podcast. If you like this, please share, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff, and we'll catch you in the next one again soon.